today's interview is with senior balance saddling consultant Judy Fry, who's based in the UK, and Judy's going to answer my 4 questions as the other consultants have done. So question number 1, Judy, when and how did you first come to know about balance and the balance saddling system?
Well, I first met Carol at a friend's sand school where I school my horses. And I was struggling with the horse at the time, Prince, and he'd struggled to stay sound in his eventing career. He started off as a novice and shot through the novice very quickly. And as I was upgrading him and trying to 3-day event him, he was really struggling. So I'd asked lots of experts for their help, and he'd had thorough vet examinations, and we talked to farriers and a lot of experts, and we weren't really getting anywhere, and I was rather frustrated. And Carol stepped in and said, I can help you. Started to talk, and she was the first person that really made sense. It was such a light bulb moment for me, and we started to sort of make progress and do the remedial program, which was very beneficial. And yes, so that's really how I met her.
And did you change the saddle sort of fairly early on, or was the first thing that you did start working with the riding?
Well, yes. I mean, in the initial time that I saw her, we tried a saddle, and there was a massive change to him, which was fantastic. But Carol wouldn't let me buy a saddle instantly. She made me do the remedial program. It was so beneficial, and I still think that that's really beneficial for people. It's the fastest route for people to get their horses back on the road. It doesn't feel like it at the time when the dreaded consultant tells you that you've got to give your horse several months and a remedial program, but it really is. If your horse has got a problem and needs to sort its body out, then it really is the best and the quickest route to do that. And yeah, so we did that for a while, and then we got a saddle and worked on from there, ending up at Windsor 3-day event. So that was brilliant.
No, it's interesting that you mentioned the remedial program, because it's something that, you know, we used to do quite a lot, because, and we're in a similar boat now with the amount of time that it takes to get saddles made, because everything's sort of slowed down since COVID started and has interrupted everything. I think there was a sort of period of time where we could supply saddles, or the manufacturers could supply saddles faster, and certainly if we had anything in stock, and that was sort of more appealing to the riders. But I know, and I remember talking about this with Carol, you know, the horses didn't benefit as much as when they were allowed to have a period of time, even if it was only a couple of weeks, but ideally sort of longer than that, between being taken out of their own saddle that had probably caused some restrictions and some patterns of defensive movement and posture, and had the time to sort of let go of some of that before they went into a saddle that then supported a better way of moving. They seem to benefit on every level. And with the actual remedial program, or what we went on to call equine pathway program, which is just about helping the horse to remember how to use its body in a more natural and efficient way, the changes were much quicker, more dramatic, much more profound, weren't they? And so, but I say it sometimes can be quite difficult to persuade people that it's a good idea, because if their real joy is in just getting on the horse and they don't want to take that time, it can, as you say, you can kind of see the glazed, when you mention it, the glazed expression comes up over the eyes, and you think, oh hello, this is pushing out of the comfort zone.
During lockdown, I've been doing a few distant consultations.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a few weeks or a couple of weeks off until we actually get the saddle sent out.
Yeah.
And I would always suggest that they do a bit of groundwork and even leading their horses around
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
And the differences in the horses can make it is very visible when
Yeah.
I next see them in a 2 or 3 weeks time.
Yeah, no, it is brilliant. Okay, question number 2. So what made you want to become a consultant?
Well, Carol asked me actually if I would be interested in it, which I saw as an amazing opportunity. What I always loved teaching and helping horses, and that's what I wanted to do, help horses, and to be able to make such a dramatic transformation with the saddles, and then continuing with the helping the horses and the riders, sometimes giving them lessons and that sort of thing, was just, to me, the perfect career. So I've really enjoyed it. The last 25 years or so.
25 years, I know that. It's a bit scary, isn't it?
It's a bit scary.
Who knew? Who knew when we got started in all of this that it would still be going along at this time later? Right, good. Question number 3. So what would you describe as the most memorable transformation that you can remember seeing when you've helped a horse move out of its previous saddle and into the balance saddling system?
Well, this is quite a difficult question, with lots of transformations, obviously. One of them that really sprang to mind was with a client that I was teaching in a yard, that the yard already had lots of saddles, but this particular client, we didn't breach the subject of saddles for a while. I taught him, but I was desperate to get the horse into a saddle, as he was very on the forehand and his back was very dropped. He was a bit cold backed when they started riding. And anyway, they started talking about to have the saddle checked. So we popped the question of would he like to try a balanced saddle, of which he obligingly did. And the little horse really took to them very well, and it's really changed him. He's come up off the forehand. He's much less cold backed when he starts. He's you can see, you know, the drop from his croup to the back of the saddle. It's really lifted up. His back's really lifted up. He's looking so much stronger. And he's in his late teens now. He's still riding around the forest and having jumping lessons and thoroughly enjoying life. So yeah, that's really rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And question number 4, which is the last question, is what would you say is the best, most enjoyable part of being a functional saddling consultant?
Well, solving people's problems really, and helping them with their horses, finding those little moments when you see the smiles on people's faces, and when it's all gone right. To start off with, during a consultation, when they feel the difference in their horses, that feeling that they've been after, that they know what they want, but they can't quite get it. And the horse is able to move as they're designed to, so they're able to move better. And the horse is able to give the rider what they want. Yeah. So, yes, being able to help them is incredibly rewarding. And also, I often teach people afterwards, and so to give them continued support, and just to see that the progress that both the horse and riders make is great. It's really rewarding.
That's marvelous. Thank you. Very good. And just to say, so Judy is actually based down in the south of England, but actually will travel to lots of other areas if there's a level of interest that makes it viable to do that. And also she has done and would do again sort of days of teaching on saddling, like workshops, lecture demos, clinics and things like that. So if anybody's interested in that, then Judy is a good person to talk to. And also Judy for a long time now has been very good in sourcing and helping people find second-hand balanced saddles. There are quite a few of those around, some depending on what it is that the horse needs, and that's where you need the consultation really is to just determine what you and the horse, the riders and the horse need. But having done that, then there are secondhand balance saddles, and because they're so well made, there are secondhand, third hand and fourth hand saddles that are still in great condition and doing amazing things for horses, aren't there? So it's, you know, people that are on a bit of a tight budget, they shouldn't feel worried about getting in touch, because, you know, there's very often a solution or something that actually helps them to move in a better direction, even if buying a new balance saddle is not on the agenda. That shouldn't stop people from asking for help. So
and even the pad system sometimes.
Absolutely, yes.
The pad system can change horses, and then, you know, maybe look into a saddle further down the line, but sometimes the pads can be really, really helpful.
Yes, actually, that's true. Yeah.
Used appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah.
A really good place to start.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, that's great. And Judy and Birgitta, the two senior consultants who've been at this for longer than anyone else, and some of the other people in the team are going to be getting together with me, joining with me, and actually doing some sessions that are sort of questions and answers. So people who are interested in functional saddling, interested in our work and the products that we produce, design and produce, if they have questions, they can send them in. I'll start putting that onto Facebook and setting up dates so that we can actually do a question and answer session. So hopefully you'll be seeing Judy again in some of those. So I will say bye-bye for now. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you very much for your questions and answers.